welcome to episode 81 of the Life in General podcast. My name is Nick.
My name is Ian.
And if I had my notes here, it'd be much more helpful. Here we go. Any questions or comments, you can email us at contact@lifeingeneralpodcast.com. Check us out on Twitter at LIGpod. On Facebook, we got a page on there that I have been known to occasionally post things on. Check us out on Podbean, iTunes, Google Podcast, Spotify, iHeartRadio, just about everywhere else, including YouTube, which I always forget to mention. And guess what, Ian?
What?
We have a guest today.
We do.
Hello, Mandy.
Hello, Nick. Hello, Ian.
Hello, Mandy.
How are you doing?
I'm doing well. How are you?
Okay. Mandy is, are you getting sick or?
Allergies, I think.
Is that allergies? Mandy's been sniffling.
Yeah.
So I promise she's not on cocaine. She's just. What?
We had a conversation about that at work the other day.
About cocaine?
Yeah, and Vince said, I shouldn't have said his name, but it didn't give a last name, so it doesn't matter. Someone mentioned something about cocaine. He's like, yeah, I'll take some. I was like, not my thing. And they were like, no way, you're a big cokehead. I'm like, no. I said, I can't. I was like, to be honest, I was like, I can't even get water up my nose without a gushing blood. Seriously.
Ian's like, I put things up my ass, but not up my nose.
I didn't say that. So
I've seen him bring down the liquid cocaine before.
Really?
Yeah. There was one time somebody came in with a really bad nosebleed, and they couldn't get it to stop, so they were going to use liquid cocaine, I guess, to stop the bleeding. But they ended up not using it. So then the residents are making a big joke about how it's a party now. We get to. I'm sure a lot of them have done blow before in their life.
There's a couple, I'm sure, for sure.
Some of them you're like, oh yeah,
yeah,
definitely. There's some nurses too that I'm like, they might still be on it.
Right. There's definitely people who work around us that you can look at them and say they've had a troubled past.
Do you feel the same way about the teaching industry, Mandy?
No.
No? No trouble pasts?
No.
No recovering drug addicts? Or
No, I don't think so.
I don't think you can have that kind of personality and go into. By the way, we have a topic, and this is not it. But
right?
I don't think you can have that kind of background. I think and make the decision to go into teaching.
I don't think so.
No.
I'm glad we got that out of the way.
Well, I mean, it's
no one wanted to expand on that.
You just can't imagine. I mean, our teachers, the teachers we had, I mean, they were older than even you are now.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
I mean, I had teachers who were in their 60s.
Right.
You just don't picture them snorting cocaine.
No.
But it's funny though, because it's like looking back on it, some of the younger teachers, you're like, oh yeah, they're probably going out on the weekend and just getting fucked up. They were.
Even back then, I don't think I was thinking that way. As an adult now,
That's what I'm saying.
Yeah, you look back and you go, yeah, they were at least tying one off every night or getting home from work.
Maybe not every night, but on the weekends,
For
they're
sure,
probably
yeah. Especially dealing with
they're like, they're fucking
asses.
kids, fucking rotten bastards.
That's what coffee and wine is for now.
Is that what it is? Together?
I don't think so.
I was going to say that's a terrible shooter. Which one's shooting what?
Right.
You're shooting yourself.
Right.
Drink your wine at night, and then you wake up with your coffee.
Okay.
That's funny. I guess that'd work.
Yeah, if you like coffee. Nick does not like coffee.
Yeah, I don't.
No.
I'm definitely the outlier. I mean, coffee is something. I mean, even Jack, our oldest, he drinks coffee every once in a while, and
because it's a tasty beverage, Nick.
I don't think it is though. It tastes like. I mean, I've never tasted ass, but I assume that's how it tastes.
Well,
Don't know either, but doesn't smell like it.
no.
I don't know.
I would say it smells way better than it tastes, but I love the taste of
coffee does smell good.
Yeah.
I do like the way it smells.
Yeah.
Then again, on occasion, I do like the way a cigarette smell also. But
Yeah, but you did smoke for like 15 years.
was it from
Say 94 to
2016? The last
2006.
2006. That's what I
Yeah.
meant. The last time I smoked a cigarette was September 27, 2006.
Yeah. So, yeah, it was like 11 years, 12 years.
Yeah, okay.
So,
It felt like longer than that.
right.
I smoked a shitload. That's.
Yeah, you did. You smoked a lot.
I mean, therefore, I was probably packing a half a day. I smoked.
Yeah.
Mandy smoked on occasion.
Yes.
Yes.
When she'd steal my cigarettes.
She was pretty good about that too.
No, I always knew when she did it. I just didn't say anything about it.
But she did it a lot.
I know.
But the pack had to be the right,
Right.
symmetric.
Right. I would say there's probably times I didn't know, but a lot of times I'd wake up and I'd go,
That bitch. That bitch did it
I
again.
had more than that, I know. So,
Do you remember what it was like to wake him up, though, Mandy?
Yes.
Ian's like, are you still that
no,
bad
not
about
that bad, no.
So Ian lived with us for 5 years,
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
and you couldn't wake the son of a bitch up. You had what, three alarm
alarms.
clocks?
3 very loud alarms.
One was like 100 decibels or some ridiculous number.
You could hear it from the street
Yes.
going off.
Yeah, there was one. Yeah, I remember one day me and you were standing out front. We were like, "Oh my god, that's Ian's alarm clock that he's sleeping through," and we have to go in there and bang on his door and wake him up.
Uh-huh. Now I have my phone alarm. I still have 3 settings, but it's not very loud, and I always wake up on the first generally on the first go.
Oh, really?
Yeah. I'll have to snooze like 30 times, but
Where was that fucking 20 years ago?
I know. I hear my phone vibrate, and I'm like, "Oh God, I gotta
Yeah.
wake up." It's
Yeah.
horrible.
I
Like,
don't-
you don't even use an alarm anymore, do you?
No.
I'm
No, that's the nice thing about working my shift. Is,
Right.
I mean, I set an alarm just to make sure I don't sleep past like 11:30. But
and I when I go in at 11, I don't set an alarm.
Yeah.
Yeah. I wake up on my own.
it's nice. It's nice not having to wake up with that groggy feeling and like, oh fuck.
Oh, I still have
gotta
to,
get
I
out of
wake
bed.
up with that groggy feeling when I have to go in at 7. But and
Sure.
I have to set an alarm for
And that's
that.
7 at night for you people that are listening at home.
Yeah, 7 p.m.
Yeah.
But that's because I didn't get home till 9 a.m. and I, ate something, had to have to take a shower, so my sleeping window is like 4.5 hours.
You don't get home until 9 o'clock in the morning?
No, but by the time I get situated and actually laid down to go to bed, it's almost 10.
Really?
Yeah.
Like, so when I worked midnights, I'd get off at 7 a.m. and I'd walk in the door normally about 7:45, and I would be asleep by 8.
Yeah, no, I go
Like
home.
I walk in the door, drop my crap wherever it is, and then just like go right to bed. No, and that's not always true. There were probably quite a few times I would actually like eat something real quick and then go to bed.
I eat dinner. It's my, it's breakfast for the rest of the world. It's dinner for me.
Yeah.
I eat dinner when I get home. I always eat something, even if it's just like a couple Lunchables or something.
Yeah.
But I always eat something, and then I get cleaned up, and because I don't want to go to bed all grubby. I always take my showers when I get up, but I wash up before I go to bed.
Yeah.
And then it takes me a while to fall asleep. So there's some days I don't fall asleep till noon, and I still have to get up at 4 o'clock.
Douche.
So,
Yeah, I know how them days are.
but if I don't have to go until 11, I can sleep until 7:30.
But I guess it's really no different than you, Mandy.
No.
What time do you have to get up during the school year?
I'm usually up by 5:30, but I go to bed earlier.
No, do you?
Yeah.
Well,
I usually go to bed by 10, 11.
Yeah. There's some nights that she's like texting me at like 11 o'clock.
Right.
I'm like, don't you have to get up early in the morning?
But it's just, you're right. It's the same. It's the same thing, but it's
Yeah.
just
different hours.
Just yeah.
It just sounds
Just
different
shift
when we
the
talk
AM
about
and the
yeah.
PM around.
Yeah.
You guys have a little bit longer drive, too. I only have about a 30-minute drive.
So is mine.
Yeah, mine's only about 25, 30 minutes.
Oh.
Like if I get out right at 3 o'clock in the morning, and I'm not delayed by if I hit all the stoplights and everything, the fastest I've been home was 3:35 in the morning.
And when I go home, I do take the long way home. I go in quick. When I go into work, I take the quick route. But when I go home, I take
That's what he said.
what?
No.
Anyway, when
It goes in quick.
I go the
God.
quick way.
Yeah, that's whatever.
Whatever. Anyway, so when I go home, I take the long route. So because I wind down, listen to music.
Gotcha. I want to
Okay.
go home fast.
I know a lot of people do, but I like to decompress before I get home.
Yeah.
There's been a couple times, especially like last couple of months, I'll get home at 3:45 in the morning. Typically is what time I get home, and I'll sit on the couch and watch an episode of Friends or something like that, and just kind of decompress. I guess it's the same thing, but you're just I'm not driving home.
Well, I
so.
have like stages of decompression. There's the drive home decompression, then there's the eat your dinner decompression, then there's the get cleaned up and then just lay down and whatever until you fall asleep decompression.
and watching YouTube for 4 hours. Yeah.
Yeah,
I get sucked in too.
Yeah, or it's sometimes it's Friends or The Office. I'll just throw an episode on and then just let it cycle through until Netflix asks me if I still want to watch. And I'm usually
How long does that typically take? I don't know. I've never.
It
It's
varies.
a few episodes.
It
I
varies
think.
though. It's
I'm
like,
not a big YouTube person, so I really
well,
don't.
no, I'm talking
No,
about Netflix.
Netflix.
Oh, I thought you said YouTube.
Well, I said, well, I'll do it on
Oh, okay,
The
okay.
Office or
Okay.
Friends on Netflix.
I don't think. Yeah, I've ever. I guess I don't really watch Netflix stuff either.
I
Well,
do
if you
those
watch Friends,
series.
Huh?
if you watch Friends,
I don't watch Friends on Netflix though.
oh,
I have them. I bought them all through iTunes.
yeah, okay. I watch them on Netflix.
Yeah.
So, but it'll cycle through. Like an hour-long show, you might get 3.
3, I think.
But I think with a half-hour show, it's like 4 or 5.
Oh, okay.
Depending. So.
Yeah.
So it's a while before.
And Hulu is much longer. Like they'll go like 10 episodes, and
But it makes you feel kind of shitty because you're all into the season trying to hurry up and bust
Right.
through, and it's like, are you still watching?
right,
why am I being judged by my fucking TV?
right. Or if you're trying to like binge it in order, and you're like watching an episode and you fall asleep, and then you wake up and you're like in the next season, you're like,
Oh,
fuck. I've done that before too.
Because that would really suck too. Because then you're like, okay, where the hell did I leave off?
Right, because you don't quite remember exactly where you fell asleep. So.
Yeah.
But that's not the topic for today.
No. Do we have a topic today, Ian?
Yes, we do.
So our topic. So we talked about this on episode 38. Actually, you just went back and looked. 38. We talked about creepy unsolved mysteries, and we're today on episode 81. We're going to talk about more creepy unsolved mysteries.
This is the creeptastic version.
I will say, so I started writing some notes a couple of nights back, and Mandy had gone to bed, and it was probably about midnight, and I'm sitting at my kitchen table, and I started I wasn't writing anything yet. I was kind of just skimming through and reading some stories, and I came across this one story. I don't even know if I wrote it down, but it was like this guy had rented a cabin with some of his, I don't know, I think they were in a fraternity or maybe it was just a group of friends or whatever. But they rented this cabin off of the mountains, and I want to say it was North Carolina or somewhere out that side of the country. But so his friends were upstairs playing cards, and he was like, I'm just gonna go downstairs and watch some TV. He was downstairs by himself watching TV, and all of a sudden heard this big bang. Someone kicked in the door, right? And his friends come busting ass downstairs, whoa, what the hell is going on? And it had snowed outside, and there were footprints walking from the woods up to the window by where he was sitting there watching TV. And he said there's no curtains or anything in this cabin.
And when it's dark and it's in the house, the inside's illuminated, you can't see outside.
So the footprints went from the woods to
the window.
And then over to the front door.
So whoever was watching kicked in the door.
Yeah. So, and I'm sitting there at our kitchen table with right next to this big window, and I was all of a sudden just got really fucking creeped out. And I was like, all right, I turned I shut the computer off and turned on that 70s show and watched an episode of that just to kind of recompose myself. Then I went to bed.
Yeah.
So I was I got all to wait till the daytime to do some of this shit. So, yeah,
Wow.
I was kind of creeped out by that one. It's really fucking creepy.
Yeah, it is. There was another one where it was very similar. It wasn't an unsolved mystery necessarily, but this family was vacationing in a cabin, and they were taking pictures and stuff. And in the picture, they saw someone standing outside the window in the picture, and they're like, "Who the fuck is that?" And there wasn't anyone that was supposed to be staring at them through the window.
Oh, really?
Yeah,
Creepy.
and they have a picture of a silhouette of a person out there, and they in the article it said that the night when because it was a Polaroid, I guess.
Uh-huh.
I'm assuming it looked like a Polaroid. They went outside, footprints, same thing. Couldn't find anybody, but yeah, they're like, nah, it's not supposed to be there.
That's weird. Were you getting ready to say something, Andy? Or
Well, I was just going to say, you're not a scary movie kind of guy either, so it probably got to you a little worse than it would some
probably,
of us.
yeah. Especially there's a couple I was reading with kids, and it just
Yeah.
kind of creeped me out. But a lot of them, when the last time we talked about this, I got a lot of them from a couple of different websites, and a lot of the ones I pulled for this episode were off of Reddit.
Okay.
And I will say that a lot of the people that use Reddit are not writing scholars, to put it nicely. Some of them were kind of hard to decipher, and I had to kind of rewrite some of it
Right.
just to make sense of it. But
You didn't edit the story, you just edited the wording.
Correct.
Yeah.
Correct. Or I'd have to it was missing a lot of detail, so I'd have to Google the story and find out exactly what happened. Like the first one I was going to talk about happened in February 2000. 9-year-old girl named her first name was ASHA. Is that Asha?
Asha.
So Asha Degree was her name. Packs a backpack and leaves her home in Shelby, North Carolina, between midnight and 5 a.m. during a storm.
How old was she again?
7 years. Sorry, it says 9 years old.
Wow. Okay.
It says several motorists see her along the highway. One stopped to see if she needed help, and as the person approached the girl, she turned and ran off into the woods. And that's kind of where the story ended. And so I kind of had to look her up and found out they found evidence that she had stopped in a nearby barn, and then that's kind of it. But a year and a half later, her backpack is found wrapped in plastic and buried at a construction site about a mile from where she was last seen. And she was never seen again.
Sure, they never found her body.
They never found her body or nothing. So
the question then is, why would a 9-year-old girl feel it necessary to leave her house
in a storm?
In a storm at night.
Do you think she really? Oh, well, I guess you said somebody saw her, so yeah.
And then why?
Because that was my first thought before I saw that people had seen her. I was like, oh man, that sounds really fishy.
Uh-huh.
But
why would she panic so badly though when someone stopped just to see if she needed help?
I don't know. So what the thinking is that someone lured her out of her house. So I guess the mom woke up to get the kids ready, because I guess there was 3 kids. She woke up at like 5:30 in the morning to get the kids ready for school, and that's when she realized that Asha was missing.
Right. Huh.
And she thought maybe she had gone across. I guess her grandmother lived across the street, so originally she was thinking maybe she went across the street, went over to the grandmother's house. They hadn't seen her, heard from her, nothing. Just disappeared. But it's gonna.
Those are some of the harder ones to deal with because they're dealing with children.
Children, yeah.
Well, the next one too, I think I'd heard of the story before, but I guess I'd never saw the pictures that went along with it. It's called The Boy in the Box, and this happened in Philadelphia in 1957. A peeping Tom found this 7-year-old boy shoved in a cardboard box, right?
Okay, I think I've actually heard this one.
So he was beaten to death, and his nude body was shoved in the box, and that's where the guy found him. But police were never able to identify the boy. They never figured out who killed him. The local police posted flyers with the boy's face, like a picture of his
beaten
body.
face, yeah.
And he was never claimed. No one ever said anything about him, really. And the pictures of the boy's beaten and swollen head are kind of disturbing.
Yeah.
And it was really interesting that they would do something like that in 1957, you know?
But they didn't have any ways of doing it any other way.
Right. No, they had no way of identifying
And
it.
if it had been an adult, they probably wouldn't have, even if the injuries were less severe.
Yeah.
Just because, people go missing all the time. Children, it's a little different, especially in 1957.
And I think that was the last one I read that night, and I was like, all right, I really need to fucking stop looking at this stuff.
Looks like there might have been a movie about it in 2011.
Really? What's it called? Boy in the Box?
Yeah.
How clever.
Gee, that's some clever writing there. Does it say who was in it? Or?
It looks like it's not from here. I don't know. There's a few different ones. Let me look on IMDb.
IMDb?
Whatever.
Close enough. I knew what
A
you're
little
talking
dyslexic.
Is that
No, that might be a different one.
Is that
There's a few different ones on here.
Damn, Mothers Against Dyslexia?
Yeah, I don't know. I'd have to look a little further.
Is that a bad joke?
Yes. It's a terrible joke. To all of our dyslexic listeners out there,
Right.
Nick's opinions do not represent the opinions of those others on the
Exactly.
podcast.
Yeah, okay. But, I don't know, did you come across anything?
Oh,
or?
yeah, I got a couple, because I came
Ian,
slightly prepared.
Okay, since Mandy's here, I'm not going to give you too much shit about
Thank
not
you.
coming with notes. Mandy doesn't like me bashing on Ian.
Nope. Because you do it every week. Like, can you just expect it to not happen?
Well, no. I really do expect him not to come with notes, but that's like our shtick. I beat up on him about
All
it.
right.
Okay.
On the token.
What?
I was
Punching
gonna say,
bag?
Yeah, I was gonna say token white guy, but that didn't make any sense.
No, that doesn't make any sense because we're all white.
Yeah. Are we though?
Yes.
The first humans were black.
Okay, go ahead with your story there, Ian.
It's true.
I know.
This one is about a guy named Ricky McCormick. I read it to you earlier, so I'm going to read it again just for the audience. Mm-hmm. On June 30th, 1999, the body of Ricky McCormick was found in a field in St. Charles County, Missouri. McCormick had been missing only 72 hours, but his body was already badly decomposed. In 2011...
How many hours was he missing?
72 hours.
Really?
3 days. Not even 3 days, right?
Must have been really hot.
Well, it was Missouri,
So-
and it was in June.
Okay.
So nearly July. McCormick had been missing only 72 hours. In 2011, the FBI revealed that they had found 2 notes in McCormick's pockets written in a complex cipher. McCormick was a high school dropout who could barely write his own name. And then they actually have a picture of the ciphers.
Yeah.
I can't make it.
Did it say, I am crazy?
It wouldn't
Feed
be
me candy.
it wouldn't be a
I know.
cipher if it said that. It would just mean he's crazy and he wants candy. Nothing to
Just
figure
a bunch
out.
of letters.
Yeah. Are you still looking at it too?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Yeah, it's like I wouldn't even know where to begin. There's some numbers in there in the lower half of the cipher.
Okay.
I don't know.
That's the end of the story?
Yeah, I mean that's the mystery.
Where,
It's,
I mean, that's
all.
it's really... What, does it say how they think he died, or...
My guess is they probably couldn't determine if his body was that badly decomposed. It was 1990. I mean,
99, yeah.
or 99. So
yeah, they should have...
Yeah, I mean, techniques have improved even since then.
Well,
so.
I mean, if it's like blunt force trauma or something like that, you'd
right?
be able
They
to tell
could they
from
could
autopsy.
determine that. Yeah,
That's interesting.
but yeah, it was
I'm
an
trying to
interesting-
read it because it's kind of like what preschoolers and kindergartens handwriting
Yeah.
looks
Yeah,
like.
and
So I'm
which,
trying to like
which I
sound it
guess
out,
would
but
match with the
if
idea
you're-
if he's
yeah.
uneducated. And
I've got
illiterate.
one. I got one that just happens to have ciphers in it also.
Does it? Do you?
Yeah.
Okay.
Spitting ciphers. No.
I don't even know what the fuck that means.
Like rapping. That's whatever.
Oh, spit and rhymes.
Yeah.
Oh, okay. Got
Spitting
it.
ciphers. It's the same thing.
I never heard it said that. But
Yeah,
I
I know.
heard that way, but
So anyway, this one says on December 1st, 1948. Well, but first off, have you ever heard of the Somerton Man? I think is what they call him.
Australia.
Yeah.
Yeah, he was found on the beach.
Okay.
Yeah,
All right. So you know the story.
I know the story. I've seen this one come up a lot.
I don't
actually.
think. Have we talked about this before? I don't think. Have you ever heard of it, Mandy?
I'm sorry, I'm really trying to decipher that.
Okay.
I think I have the first sentence figured out. So
So it
Okay,
says-
wow. Okay.
I'm done.
So it says on December 1st, 1948. Well, if you've heard the story, you can fill in anything,
Yeah.
I guess. A man was found dead leaning against a seawall on Somerton Park Beach in southern Australia. He had no ID on him and is dressed well. He was in I think it was a suit or something
Yep.
like
And it was I can't remember if it was tailored, but it was definitely slightly expensive.
that. Yeah. Says in his pocket they found a piece of paper saying, is it Tamam Shud? Is that how you say it? TAMAMSHUD.
Yeah, something like that. Yeah.
Which apparently translates loosely to the end times. Which I thought it was really interesting. It says no one was reported missing. Later, a briefcase is found in a locker at a train station attributed to him with a few clothes marked T. Kane. No one named that is found missing. It says when info about the note is released, one of the locals finds a book, an odd book, in the back seat of his car in the area that the man was found. So it must have been along the beach somewhere.
Yep.
The piece of paper matches the torn out bit from the book. In the book, there's a very odd cipher that no one has been able to decode since, and a phone number. Did I miss anything?
There's pictures. There's actually photographs of him laying up against the wall. He had been there overnight. People had seen him laying there and just assumed he was a drunk and passed out. Just walked by him. But he had been dead that whole time.
But they did say that the way that his blood had pooled in his body suggested that he was killed in a different position in which he was found.
Mm-hmm.
And so the body was embalmed and put on display for 6 months and received a lot of attention, but no one can remember having seen him. No family or anyone knowing him has ever been found.
Yep. And he's still he's got a relatively nice grave for considering he had no people bought him.
What was his name again?
No one knows.
No one knows.
T. Kane.
I didn't know how you had pictures.
We had
from
yeah.
the
I tried
Right.
looking it up. I couldn't find it.
What's the name of the town again?
Somerton Beach,
Yeah.
Somerton
Okay.
Park Beach.
Yeah, I typed that in and it should come up with that, with pictures of that to the audience as well. It's you don't really. I mean, you just see the guy laying up against the wall. It's not.
Yeah, he's just sitting there.
Yeah,
And
he's
I
not
think
even
he had
like, he's not even like sitting. It's like his head is resting against the wall and he's like laying.
I think it also talked about him having like a half burned cigarette in his hand too.
There was. I remember there being mention of a cigarette. I don't remember where it was. If it was just a pack of cigarettes with him or something.
I think it was a half burned cigarette in his hand.
Okay.
Or it was either in his hand or in his mouth,
Right.
something like that.
And they never really determined cause of death.
No,
either,
I don't think
so.
they did.
But yeah, no, that one's come up quite a few, but it's definitely never going to be solved. It's one of those mysteries that just will never, ever, ever be solved.
No. Let's see. I got another one from Reddit. This one says, and this one kind of leaves out some stuff, like where it happened. From the way they talk, I can kind of figure out. But so the post says, when I was younger, and I guess it was about 15 years ago, because it was posted a year ago, and then someone had asked how long ago it happened, and the writer said 14 years earlier. So at this point, it's probably been about 15 years.
Okay.
So it says, when I was younger, I lived with my mother in the countryside. Of course, the post doesn't say what country this happened in.
Right.
We were the only two people ever in the house. And one night, after watching TV with me, the mother went into the kitchen to find 2 butchered rabbits laid out on the floor with all the body parts carefully placed in correct places. So someone must have snuck in through the back door while they were watching TV and placed them there without making a sound.
Huh.
It says, I remember we stayed with and this is where it kind of tips me off. It says, I remember we stayed with my grand's house. So I'm probably thinking somewhere European.
Oh,
They call it
possibly.
Grand.
Yeah, could be.
So we stayed at my grand's house for about a week after that, and we never found out how or why it happened.
Huh.
But that's creepy. You're just sitting there watching TV, and you walk in, and someone obviously was in the house.
Right. Butchering a rabbit, or at least arranging a butchered rabbit.
Yes, arranging a butchered rabbit.
Huh. I don't know. I mean, when it comes to Reddit, though, some of those stories, it's hard to know exactly how accurate they
Yeah,
are,
I
or if
know
they're
that.
even true.
Did you say how many kids there were?
There's just him and his mom.
It was just the kid, just the 2 of them.
Because I've heard another story like that, and it was the son who was doing that to animals, and he was butchering them into little pieces, but putting them in the right parts. I wonder if that has
really?
something to do with that, or
Maybe,
if it's
I don't
something
know.
else made up.
Huh.
I remember reading another one about that way back in the day.
Okay.
Huh.
Or maybe this is like a copycat thing, because they said this
Could be.
happened. They said this happened 15 years ago.
Yeah.
So that would have been 2004.
Yeah, thereabouts.
Yeah.
Yeah. I haven't read this one yet, so we're all hearing it for the first time together. So,
Okay.
give me a second.
Jeez. Jesus.
In 1985, a metal drum containing the remains of a woman and a young girl were discovered near New Hampshire's Bearbrook State Park.
Uh-huh.
The two were related in some way, but they were never identified. 15 years later, another metal drum was discovered 100 feet away, this one containing the bodies of 2 more young girls, one of whom was related to the people found in 1985. The 4th victim bore no relation to the others. It's been determined that the victims were Caucasian, and their poor dental health suggests that they may have lived a transient lifestyle. The bodies had so badly deteriorated that authorities say they may have died as early as 1977.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
And where'd they find them at?
New Hampshire.
Really?
In a state park.
What year was this?
They found the first barrel or drum in 1985,
Okay.
and the second one 15 years later, 100 feet away from where they had found the first one. And one of them was related to the people they found in the other barrel.
That's
So
kind of creepy.
the same person left the barrels there.
Yeah.
So
Wow.
unsolved serial killing, I would imagine.
It's kind of along the lines of serial killer. I know this isn't a. I'm sorry. Was that? Over?
Yeah, that was the end of that one.
I didn't want to cut you off there, especially I don't want my wife yelling at me for cutting you off.
Mandy's my defender.
So this isn't necessarily like a serial killer thing, but it's a series of unexplained murders.
Okay. That have a potential causal link.
Maybe, I don't know. It's so, and what caught me really quick was the town that it happened in, because I've driven through this town, as we all have, many different times. I've probably stopped there and gotten gas. It's from Bardstown, Kentucky.
Okay. Yep.
So it's about an hour south of Louisville, and the site of a string of unsolved murders. The first happened in 2003 when Jason Ellis, a police officer, was headed home, but was stopped by a freshly cut tree limbs or branches blocking his exit on the road. So he gets out of his car and is ambushed and shot to death. A year later, a 48-year-old woman named Kathy Netherland and her 16-year-old daughter Samantha were murdered. The mother was shot to death, and the daughter was beaten to death. A year after that,
On the same spot? The same
on
road?
the same stretch of road.
Okay.
So it's all happened. All the murders and disappearances happens on the Bluegrass Parkway in Bardstown. A year after that, 35-year-old Crystal Rogers goes missing. Her car was found on the Bluegrass Parkway with a flat tire. No one, and
She never found.
never found.
So, anyone out there, don't go down that road.
Right.
Stay off the Bluegrass Parkway.
Yes.
But I saw that and I was like, Bardstown. That sounds really
Yeah,
familiar.
no, I stopped for gas there myself.
I was
Yeah.
like, oof, geez, oh Pete.
In fact, I think I may have stopped at a rest stop quite near there and fallen asleep.
Oh really?
Yeah.
You got another one, Ian?
I'm looking. Garnell Moore has been missing since 2002.
What's his name?
Garnell?
Garnell?
Yeah, Moore.
Okay.
His mother in prison and his father transient. He spent most of his early life living with family. Garnell was last seen sometime in 2002. At the time, he was staying with his aunt, Belinda Cash. Cash was not his legal guardian, and the arrangement was informal. Cash had never had children, has no history of child abuse, and no significant criminal record. However, when Garnell's relatives realized he was missing, Cash gave a series of elusive answers to the police, first saying he was away on a school field trip, then saying she left him outside of social services building. The address for the building she provided was fictitious. To date, there is no evidence or even theory about what happened to Garnell Moore.
Sorry, that was his mother that had no.
His mother was in prison. This was his aunt.
Okay.
So his aunt most likely did something and disposed of him.
Oh, nice.
But they can't prove it because they don't have a body.
And where'd you say that happened at?
Did it say?
'Cause that's where I always find interesting is, especially when it's like somewhere like, somewhere like heavily populated or something.
It doesn't say, but there is a picture of him in 2002 and then an age progressed picture some years later.
Huh. That's that's pretty crazy.
Yeah.
Would you like to read one, Mandy?
I do, but it's a really long one, but it's...
Oh, I actually had one here if you wanted to read it. That's a really
Oh,
long
no,
one.
she found her own.
Oh, would you find one? Okay. Which one is it?
Eric Cross. We didn't talk about that, did
No,
we?
I didn't know that one. Go ahead.
Well, he's actually from Kalamazoo, and he's been missing since 83. He was a 16-year-old boy living in a small town near Kalamazoo, Michigan, called Vicksburg. On June 25th, 1983, he left to go to a party. Where'd it go? There it goes. Eric left his house to go to a party. His sister Jackie remembers chatting with her brother the night before and listening to his favorite song. After saying goodbye, she went to bed to get ready for church, and his father was awakened the next morning by a car with a loud muffler and decided to go outside to get the newspaper sometime before 6. While outside, he found his son's body lying near the road in front of their house. The family tried everything they could, but Eric was dead. At first glance, a body on the side of the road usually points to a hit and run, but after deeper looking into the case, it became clear that this was no accident. They know the night before he went to a party located less than a mile from his home and report that he left around 1 a.m. Witnesses have reported seeing him near a gas station, talking to two separate cars that night. Then around 5, when Eric's father heard the loud car, he reported that the car pulled into his driveway, left, and returned a second time before speeding off into the distance. Which sounds like they brought the body, dropped it off, and turned around and left.
Dump and run.
Mm-hmm. It says it looks like, after analyzing the crime scene, it was determined that his body had been dragged by a car and deliberately struck. His wallet and other personal items were sprawled out around the body, including a shoe that had came off. The autopsy report says that Eric suffered from a number of fatal lesions that contributed to his death. including fractures, lacerations that left the body mangled. His body was in such bad shape that the medical examiner could not determine if any of the injuries occurred before he was hit by the car. So it's now been a cold-blooded homicide investigation. It's been going on for over 30 years. And
Wow.
apparently, let me go back to the other one, February of 25 of this year, they're still going up to the courthouse trying to get them to reopen the case and dig further into it.
Really?
This is probably declared a cold case.
The cold
Yeah.
case, yep.
Huh.
Yeah.
That's what crazy. Where did it happen at?
Right near Kalamazoo.
Oh, wow. I'm surprised that we didn't hear more about it.
Well, 83, so if it went cold right away is what I think it said.
Well, I'm saying, I'm surprised we don't hear more about,
Them
people
trying to. Well,
yeah,
'cause-
if it's local.
yeah, you might hear if we live closer to Kalamazoo,
Yeah.
you might know about
Maybe.
it, but
Okay.
it's not going to get even statewide attention.
Yeah,
on
they
it
said
at this point.
that they one of the friends had saw his sister post on a Facebook page that everything was still going on for
Okay.
them as the family, still
Yeah.
trying to petition to the court and everything.
Well, that's cool.
Yeah, not cool.
Just
but-
out of curiosity, because I think you read the book, and it's the anniversary of the Michigan murders.
Yeah.
Was that
It's a
solved?
great book. Yeah.
Yeah. mhm.
Okay, that was solved.
Yep.
I've never read it.
John Norman Collins is his name.
I have it upstairs. You should take it home. I've read it probably 5 times at
That's
least.
really good. Actually, one of the news networks just did a 3-part series.
Because it's been 50 years, right?
I think so.
So it's
Yeah,
the 50th anniversary.
69.
Okay, yeah, 50 years. Just quick summary of what happened.
So basically, it's everything centered right around Ypsilanti,
Right,
Eastern's
Eastern's
campus.
campus. Yep.
One little girl was taken from Willis, which is right near we lived. And basically, he would just take girls. They said he was a very attractive man, and I know a couple of them, he'd show up on a motorcycle and woo them, and they would go, thinking it was
Ted
safe.
Bundy style.
And then he would just kill them and put them in different places. And
Dump their bodies.
if I remember correctly, they usually were stripped down, either to just underwear or nothing. So I think they were all probably raped. I can't quite remember.
Yeah, I'm sure they were. I know their breasts were all cut.
Yeah.
So he mutilated the bodies. Our friend Corey, actually, him and his brother at one time broke into John Norman Collins' home that he used to live in and went down in the basement where he killed the girls.
Oh, really?
Yeah. And they said it was really creepy down there. But, just reading the book, you're like, oh, I've been here. I've been there before.
Uh-huh.
Oh, I've been there before. And like
When they
obviously,
name the streets and everything, it's
in the book, the names have been changed
for the people.
yeah. But a lot of the places are what they are. And it was really funny. I was watching part 1 of the news stories a couple nights ago, and it was talking about where one of the places where one of the girls were dumped is now a subdivision. So this girl's body was found in someone's backyard, basically.
Right. Well, what is now?
What
What is now someone's backyard? But
I think one, unless it was another, because I read a lot of murder mystery books, one was dumped in a cemetery. I think they found him.
Yep.
Yeah? Okay.
Yeah, they found one of them in a cemetery. Another one was just in like a wooded area.
Which back then, the whole area was a lot
It was
of
much
areas-
more, yeah.
Yeah, it was like and it was a lot of it was all like north, so like a Prospect area,
Okay.
north of Eastern's campus.
Gotcha.
And like one was someone was just like jogging through a wooded area and found a body, and I believe that was the one where he came back to. Is that the one he came back to, and that's when they caught him?
I don't recall.
I don't remember. I think
Yeah.
that's how they.
Is he still in prison or is he
Yes,
dead?
yeah, I think he's still in prison.
I don't know. Maybe.
Good question. Someone.
Well, we'll Google it after the fact because I don't
You
want
can- go ahead,
to
Al.
lose my page.
Yeah.
Go
for
ahead.
it.
Go ahead and read another one there, Ian. If you
Okay.
got one.
I think we went over this next one on the last one. It's the German House of Horrors from the 20s.
No, I don't remember that one.
Oh, because this one comes up a lot in YouTube videos and stuff. In 1922, and there's pictures of this too you can find online. 1922, a gruesome murder of a family that took the lives of 6 people happened in Hinterkaifeck. It's a small farm in Germany, Munich, Germany.
Oh, is this one where they took him in the
Barn.
The barn and killed?
Yeah, we did go over that.
we did
one.
go
I
into
thought
that.
so.
He is still alive.
He
He's
is still
in
alive.
prison in Marquette.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, we did talk about that. Was one where they, like, the family, the dad had found footprints
Yep, and
into the house,
right.
but they couldn't find anything. They heard noises in the attic,
but
and then one by one they were lured out to the barn and killed with
the
an axe.
nanny had left, and they'd hired a new nanny.
That was her first day, and she was murdered
yep.
also. Yeah,
And
then
the neighbors had said that at the time when the family had probably already been dead, they saw fresh smoke coming from the. So whoever had killed them had stayed in the house, eaten food,
yes,
lived there with these dead bodies, and one of the victims was still in crib. It was a baby.
yeah, one was really little. I do know that.
So.
Speaking of people living with dead bodies, I just saw. No, this isn't really creepy. Well, I mean, it's really fucking creepy, but it's not unsolved. But there's a lady in, I think it was Detroit, not too like last week, the week before, was arrested because I guess her grandmother lived with her. So it was the lady, her like 20-some-year-old special needs daughter, and then the grandmother lived with them. Now, I guess at some point in the last couple of years, the grandmother had fallen in one of the bedrooms and broke her hip. She wasn't able to get up, move, and they let her rot on the floor in the bedroom.
They let her just die there?
They let her die there, and they said she didn't fall from the fall. She didn't die from the fall. She died. She laid there and starved to death. But they've been living there for years.
Gross.
And the grandmother was just dead upstairs.
Yeah, dead so it was the mother and special needs daughter lived in the bedroom next door, and the whole time this other lady
Couldn't you smell that? I mean, I know they did it, but
it had
that had to
terrible.
be horrible.
At least for a while. Yeah. For 6 months, maybe.
Yeah.
Yeah.
For everything to really truly rot away.
Maybe they just stuffed towels under the door, and
I don't know.
that's bad. But yeah, she was arrested. And
Yeah, I mean, it's not murder, but it's negligent homicide.
it is murder.
Well, yeah, but
You let him starve to death. That's absolutely murder.
Yeah, that's murder. But
Yeah, because it wasn't the fall that killed her. She just broke her hips and couldn't get up.
no one helped her.
But no one helped her. So, I mean, that had to have been, you figure, a couple weeks to die.
Yeah. Well, because she was older, she may have died a little sooner, but still not much.
Yeah.
You know, if she's older, she may have been diabetic. That could have taken her quicker.
Maybe.
You only hope.
Hopefully.
Yeah.
Hopefully.
Because starving to death is considered to be one of the worst ways to die.
It had to have been, she must have been screaming, laying there dying, you know?
Oh, yeah. Especially once the hunger delusion started kicking in and the mind starts going.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, you would have heard nothing but screaming. Because she would have been eating herself. She would have started trying to eat herself.
Yeah, it's crazy.
I don't know. Have either of you heard of the Axeman of New Orleans?
No. I don't think
I've
so.
heard little things about it, but I haven't really gotten too much into it. But there's a little tidbit of it here. This guy terrorized New Orleans for 2 years, in which he butchered 12 people to death for no apparent reason other than raw psychopathic insanity.
What year was this?
It doesn't say on this, but it was 30s or 40s, if memory serves.
Okay.
He taunted the police with a letter in which he claimed to be a demon, unholy, not of this earth, as well as a huge fan of jazz. He vowed not to attack any house in which a jazz band was hired to sing. So people were like,
that's interesting.
playing records at night and hiring bands and singers. Yeah. He was never caught, but our guess is that he was an out-of-work jazz musician. I don't know.
That's weird. Did you think he was killing demons? What was that movie?
Frailty.
That's what it is.
Ugh.
Yeah, Mandy hates that movie. I thought it was a really good movie.
I like the movie because it makes you think.
Yeah. Here's another one I got off of Reddit, and I wasn't 100% sure. I really this is one of those ones where you're like, But it says me and my friend were exploring in a national park close to where I live. Of course, he doesn't say where I lived. Oh no, this was in northern Canada, is what it said.
Uh-huh.
We came across this really strange section of trees that was so dense you couldn't see the sky, and the branches all seemed tangled together to create a sort of natural ceiling. This is one of those ones that's written really greatly.
Greatly?
And I said greatly because, because it's the way it's written. It says, we went in at about 2 p.m. Somewhere inside this strange area, we came across an old burial ground with a plaque that talked about the natives who were killed by disease and buried there. We stuck around for maybe 30 minutes max and left. When we got out of the strange thicket of trees, it was pitch black outside. And this was northern Canada, where it doesn't get dark for a very long time in the summer. We ran back to our car and checked the time, and it was 1:20 in the morning. We had lots of missed calls from worried family, but to this day, no one believes us. I kind of don't either.
Yeah.
So you lost like 12 hours. You went into a strange burial site and
Right. It smacks of creepypasta.
yeah. What's that? What the fuck is that?
It's like
Why'd you laugh, Mandy?
Because that's just weird to say.
Yeah.
It's like scary fan stories.
Okay.
Creepypasta. You can find it online.
One
of the stories I had given the last time was a creepypasta story, and I didn't realize it until after the fact.
Oh.
So, because I'd mixed it up in my notes. That was one of the times I came with notes.
Do you want to read this one? This is one.
I have a few.
Oh, this is a long one if you want to read this one.
Why? I really don't like listening to my voice on here.
Oh, it's fine.
The one that says the setting is Canada, I think is what it says.
Okay. The setting is Canada, beginning of summer 1991. Gord and Jackie McAllister parked their RV at the Blind River rest stop, just outside of Blind River, Ontario, Canada. This isn't going to, you're not going to turn this into a story about something else, right?
No.
Okay.
Why?
Because you're making me read it, so now I'm like, he's going to make me a jackass and write something that I'm reading and not really paying
No, this is a really
attention
interesting
to.
story.
Okay.
It's just really fucking long. And
Okay.
I don't know why. I can read. I swear I can. But when I read things on here, I'm like, I stumble over myself. And
It's just
Okay.
reading out loud is not.
Yeah.
It's not ingrained in us.
Yeah.
No. All right, so they're in Ontario, Canada. They're the only vehicle there. This is an RV. All right. Around 1 a.m., the 62-year-old Gord McAllister and his wife, Jackie, are woken up in the middle of the night. The sound of banging on the door outside. They're the only RV parked at the rest stop on the side of a forested highway. Desolate, isolated, in the middle of nowhere.
It does curse. You can leave the curse word out.
Thank
Mandy.
you. Police, open up, the voice yells, banging on the trailer door. Relentless. I feel like I'm in school reading my paragraph. It's like bold letters. Okay, guys, I'm ruining it. Sorry.
No, you're fine.
Okay. You need to move your trailer immediately, the voice barked. The two looked at each other and cautiously agreed to open the door to see what is happening. Something unsettling fell upon the RV cabin. Why there was no other cars in the parking area. The pounding only grows louder as a 59-year-old Jackie McAllister inches closer to the door. She unlocks the latch and opens the door for the officer, only it wasn't an officer. The man barged in, pushing Jackie out of the way, a huge, lumbering figure. His hair was long and bleached to a platinum blonde, almost white. A sinister grin appeared upon his face, and his eyes burned right into Gord and Jackie's, staring with evil intent. He pointed the shotgun in their direction. On his back, a large hunting rifle. Excuse me. Empty out your wallets and personal belongings. Give me all your cash. I'm going to rob you, and then I'm going to kill you. He locked eyes on Jackie, the shotgun pointed at them as she screamed frantically. His mouth sharpened to a wide grin as her eyes never blinked. Jackie was the first to move. They complied. She reached into her purse. All right, Gord said, just don't hurt us. As Jackie reached into her purse looking for cash, the man with no hesitation clenched his finger on the trigger, unleashing a shotgun spread right into Mrs. McAllister. Her body tore apart, soaking the RV interior with blood. Her husband recoiled in horror. The man's grin widened, unflinching from the mayhem he created as he aimed for Gord. It was clear he didn't care about the valuables. It was clear he wanted someone to die tonight. The shotgun panned across the room to Gord. McAllister leapt for the window. The madman pulled the trigger again as Gord broke through the window. Gord hit the ground in confusion, adrenaline pumping through his body. What had happened? Gord scrambled, pulling himself underneath the RV. The man stepped out of the door, his boots racing down the metal stairs of the ground. He quickly walked over to the broken window and looked around, pointing the shotgun as he tried to see where his target had ran off to. There, under the RV, Gord kept as silent as he could, but he realized something as the burning sensation caught him while he laid there. It was a pain like no other, as it only amplified. It was that instant Gord knew he was hit. The blood seeping from his body into the ground, and before him, just outside, the man standing, his boots no more than 2 feet from his face. He knew he couldn't run, he wouldn't make it. He knew he couldn't fight back, not now in his condition. He knew he had to be as quiet as he could, or else he'd be dead. His mind raced thinking about Jackie. Everything was happening so fast. The killer slowly turned and faced the RV, looking for a sign. Something had caught his attention. Gord recoiled, his eyes widening as he saw the man turn to face his direction. What was this? Oh, was this it? Suddenly, a bright line shone on the RV. Gord peered as another vehicle rolled up to the Blind River rest stop. The killer turned around slowly as the brakes made a distinctive squeal, while the car transmission turned to park with a heavy thud. Out stepped a young man, 29-year-old Brian Major. Everything going all right here? Brian asked to the RV to the tall man with long, blonde, stringy hair. The man said nothing and turned to Brian, his eyes staring down at the interloper. Brian couldn't quite see what the man was holding. Are you all right? Brian asked, before realizing the man was walking towards him. The man held his gaze on Brian as the steps picked up speed. Brian stepped backwards, the threat of immediate danger overcoming him. The man picked up the pace, walking with clear intent towards Brian Major. From under the motorhome, Gord watches the scene play out. Brian gets in his car, his fingers finding the keys. He looks away from the approaching man to make sure the keys line up in the keyhole. The key lined in with the tumblers. Brian twisted as fast as he could, turning over the engine and starting his car. Instinctively, his hand darted to the gear shift, rapid shifting it down to drive. His foot slammed onto the gas pedal. He was getting out of there. And as his foot tapped the gas, the shotgun fired once more. The man had caught up. He sent one blast straight through the glass with his 20-gauge shotgun, killing Brian instantly. Gord's hope dropped immediately as he heard the horn play. Brian slumping into it. The car not even leaving the parking lot. The horn was an insurmountable force, a constant. Gord closed his eyes as the killer inspected Brian's car. Gord's heart was racing. He knew it was over. He knew he was next. His eyes opened slowly, giving in to the fear. He couldn't see the killer. And like that, he was once again alone. I need a breath.
I told you it was long.
It's really long. Gord hoped deep down that the man was gone, that he'd keep running. Carefully, he pulled himself under the RV. He came to his feet and raced back into the motorhome. He quickly started the RV and drove out of the Blind River rest area as fast as he could. He just wanted to put as much distance between him and the killer as he could. Gordy drove it out onto the highway and flagged a trucker for help. Aside from there was no other witness. Shortly after 1 a.m., another car began approaching the Blind River rest stop area. It drove on the highway. As a man noticed a large blue van emerge from the empty Blind River rest stop, it was off in a hurry. The man noted as he drove, and suddenly the blue van swerved and began heading straight for his car, attempting a head-on collision. The man managed to swerve quickly, dodging the blue van and getting out of the way. He regained control and sped away from the blue van as the van sped off towards Sudbury, Ontario, escaping into the black. This case has never been solved. In February 2012, Gord McAllister passed away. We drove up to my friend's grandmother's house in the mountains of New Mexico first. Wait, is this another one?
That's a different one, maybe.
Okay.
That was the end
You
of
need
the-
titles.
it ends with the bullet point.
Okay. That was really long.
Yeah.
But it was really crazy. I mean, could you imagine that? And that's not really. I mean, Sudbury is not that far into Ontario from Detroit. So I mean, it's not. It was within a couple hours from here.
Yeah.
Right.
Did it say what year that was in the beginning?
2011? Did I make that up?
Yeah, I don't think that was that. It was 1990, somewhere in 1991.
Oh, okay.
I had the one right.
Yep.
That's crazy.
Yeah.
It's like,
Well, as she's reading it, I mean, I'm like, it's awfully detailed, but you know,
well, I mean, the husband lived,
right?
so I'm assuming that's where the account came from. The other thing that's makes me think is like, also it's so detailed. Maybe it didn't really happen.
Yeah.
Right.
Maybe he killed his
Well,
wife. This other guy happened to pull up as it happened, so he killed him, and
Right.
then made this story about.
Oh,
Yeah.
yeah, that's a possibility. I was just thinking how the killer, just through the description, kind of resembled Otis Driftwood from House of a Thousand Corpses, and that would have been his
I
MO.
don't know.
You-
I've never seen
I
it.
pictured him, the guy from the
or
guy
Devil's
from
Rejects.
Rocky Horror Picture Show.
Oh,
Very similar, actually.
Is it?
Yeah, very similar.
That's
Although
my-
Otis has a beard. And
Gotcha.
I do want to say real quick though, but the whole story about the guy peeking through the window at the one guy, that's what I always think of. There's a big window down in our basement.
Then close it.
I always
You
close
have
it.
blinds, okay.
And that's why I always close it. And you're like, why? And that's so when I first put the blinds up, he's like, why are you putting the blinds down there? That's why.
Because it's an egress window, so I don't want to have to go through with work if the house is on fire.
I know, but there's not a cover.
Yeah,
on
but
there,
you
so
also
someone's
don't want to
really-
be sitting here being watched by creepy people.
Yeah.
You know.
We have a lot of those here in our town.
Apparently, we do.
No, we don't.
You never know.
Yeah,
As I pointed out, your area is diversifying to a point, but it's still very homogenized. And when you have that, you get some craziness.
Speaking of craziness, I do have another one I would like to tell. This one, I don't remember where I got this from. I don't remember if it was from Reddit, because there's a big, long Reddit thread that I was copying stuff off of. But this one says, 8 people were murdered in their house in, is it Basilica? Villisca.
I think I've heard this one too.
It's a small town in Iowa. Anyway, it's a small town where everybody probably knows everyone, is what it says. It was June 10th, 1912, and while everyone was sleeping in the tiny house, someone came in and killed them all with an axe. There was no sign of break-in, and just before everyone went to bed to be killed, the family had been at church. It is thought that the killer had climbed into the attic and waited for them to come home and go to bed. 6 of those killed were children ages 5 to 11, and only 4 were from the family. 2 killed were friends sleeping over. What is especially weird is how nobody woke up after the person next to them was smashed in the face with an axe. At least everyone in the house was all the kids were sharing a bed or in the same bedroom. It says, but even stranger than that, all mirrors in the house were covered by sheets. Over the past 100 years, nobody has solved the murder, although one suspect is Reverend George Kelly, who admitted to the murders, but there was a lack of evidence to this.
Back in 1912, a confession would be enough.
You would think.
I don't know. But they said there wasn't evidence to
I mean, unless they said, okay, how'd you do it? And he got it completely wrong.
I don't know.
That'd be the only way they would throw a confession out. Because back then, they didn't have anything else to go on.
But there's especially with a lot of these like creepy stories, there's a connection to attics. There's like, several of them where
Well, if you go on, if you type in like creepy things caught on video, you'll be amazed at how many people have caught people living in their attics on video, like coming out at night and eating food and climbing back up into the upper crawl spaces, and just hanging out up there.
When was the last time you checked ours? I do have some food missing.
Yeah, but considering who you have living here, it's not missing. We can pretty much identify what's gone.
there's nowhere to live up there.
Okay, good.
There's nowhere.
Well, no, I mean
there's nowhere to stand up there.
No, these people aren't standing. They're sitting. They're sitting for hours and hours. They come down to go to the bathroom.
No. What I'm saying though, there's nowhere to sit up there. Anything
in ours.
If you would fall through the drywall.
All right. Well,
I did find a website. It's from Detroit. Click on Detroit. Apparently, it's March of this year, so they're trying to reopen all the unsolved cases around Michigan. So there was just a couple on here I could read.
Okay.
Someone killed at least 4 children in Oakland County, Michigan, between 1976 and 77. We didn't talk about this, did we?
no,
Okay.
no, but they have. I remember hearing about this.
Yeah,
on
it was on the
recently.
news. Yep. Investigators have been working for decades. Excuse me. To determine who the serial killer. Okay, hold on. You want to read it?
Are you choking over there?
I think I am.
Which one is it?
One that's open.
Is it really long?
No,
Oh, okay.
just that little bit.
Yeah, Nick can only read 3 paragraphs at a time.
As my wife knows, I don't do anything really long.
Dear God, you guys made me talk too much.
It says someone killed at least 4 children in Oakland County, Michigan, between 76 and 77. I think Mandy said that.
Yeah, sure.
Investigators have been working for decades to determine who the serial killer is and if he's still alive. Those who knew the victims, their families, friends, classmates, teachers, coaches, and neighbors have been forever changed by what happened during the 13-month period from February 76 to March 77. In that time, the 4 children were abducted and murdered, with their bodies left in various locations within or just outside Oakland County. No, well, hold on. Is this a different one? Oh, okay. I don't
All of them are on there.
So
it doesn't really go into too much
Yeah.
detail.
no, it doesn't go into too much detail.
I just thought it was neat that they're opening up all these cases again.
Yeah. Well, it makes you wonder because they're not being very clear as to why they are. Because I remember hearing about that one on the news recently. But I'm wondering if maybe they've come across some new evidence that's causing them to say maybe we need to re-examine these cases.
It could be, or there's just better technology, so now they can go back through and do everything with these cold cases that's still in the vault
system.
or whatever you call
That's
it.
interesting. I got one last one if you don't mind me.
No, go ahead.
It says, this is kind of a long one, but in 2009, Susan Powell went missing. Hey, we know Susan Powell.
Yeah.
Kind of caught my attention too. It's noticed It's noticed that she, her husband, and her 2 sons were missing the next day. That doesn't really make a whole lot of sense.
Mm-hmm.
Does it?
Yeah, she and her husband.
All right. Missing the next day when no one showed up for work or daycare. Family starts trying to contact them to no avail. Finally, a sister gets a hold of her husband, Josh. He said he went on a spontaneous camping trip with the kids on a school night in November. And now he didn't know where Susan was. There's a lot of shady details. A fan drying, a wet spot in his house, some blood found in his also found in his house. He and his family tried to say Susan was having an affair. She ran away with her suitor. God, this is really poorly written. Missing ands and all sorts of things. The kids say they had seen Mommy in a trunk. Susan's friends say that she had become afraid. Apparently she kept a journal also, and her journal said that hold on. A journal of hers they found said she had moved to Utah from Washington because Josh's dad scared her. Josh being the husband.
Mm-hmm.
She had told friends that Josh and his dad wanted to share her, and authorities later found hundreds of photos on Josh's dad's computer of Susan that she didn't know were being taken. It says, I know what you're thinking. Josh killed her, or his dad did. It seems clear-cut, but because of some flubs in the initial investigation, despite all the suspicions, no one could get any real evidence. And more importantly, no one ever found Susan or her body. The case stagnated. A few years later, Josh's dad was arrested for having child pornography on his computer. In 2012, after Josh had moved back to Washington, he exploded his house.
Oh my God.
Is that how you say it?
Mm-hmm. Sure. We know what it means.
Okay,
Yeah.
all right. He exploded his house during a supervised visit with his sons. Investigation of the remains showed that Josh had locked himself in the house with the boys, hacked them up with an axe before they all expired from smoke inhalation. The next year, Josh's brother also committed suicide. And now Josh's dad, who many believe knows exactly where Susan's body is, if he wasn't involved with the murder himself, is out of prison and walking this world. It's been nearly 8 years since her disappearance, and still we are no closer to finding her body. This case haunts me because it says that she was a victim of abuse, murdered by her husband, more than likely. Yeah, that's creepy. And went on to kill himself and his kids.
I'm about 90% positive I saw that on the news because I remember the man locking himself in the house with his kids and blowing it up.
Okay.
Yep.
Oh, you know what?
Unless there was another case the same, I remember that. Unless I have 2 different stories in my head.
And that was in 2012, so it would have been something we probably would have heard about. Yeah, that's kind of creepy. All right, anything else, Ian? That was the last one I had.
Well, let me just glance through this real quick and see.
We're a little over an hour, so I mean...
I'll do this one for the last one. I'm just reading to make sure.
Should I riff a little bit?
Because this might be another boy in a box situation.
Oh, really? Another one?
Yeah.
Is it from Philadelphia, 1957?
Doesn't say. It's
Okay.
from 1957, though.
Oh,
probably.
Probably is then.
Yeah. J.C. Penney's bassinet box.
Maybe it was.
Okay.
What does the story say?
All right, I'll just read it. On February 25th, 1957, police found the body of a 4 to 6 year old boy in this J.C. Penney's. There's a picture.
Let me see a picture of it. Yes, it's the same story.
One?
That's the same
well,
story.
What's this about his heart?
That's a hat. Let me see it. That's a hat. They found a hat at the scene.
Oh, I thought it said heart.
No, it's like an old gray hat.
Okay.
Like one of those old timey hats.
All right. Well, let me just glance then.
Okay. Hey,
Talk
look, Mandy.
amongst yourselves.
See, Mandy, you're a lot more involved in this episode
Kind of.
than old coffee.
Because you made me. And whose coffee? Me for 30 minutes?
No, we're fine. I always like having you on the show, though, Mandy.
Thank you. Oh, the Monroe County girl, Nevaeh
What happened?
Buchanan. You've never heard of this?
Maybe, maybe not.
They found her body. Let's see. It was 10. This doesn't. Oh, let me see if it does. So it's right here in Monroe, Michigan.
Is it recently or
10 years.
Oh.
They just had the place I used to work at was the school she went to. They had a memorial bench and everything there
really?
for her. They have no idea what happened other than they couldn't find her, and then they found her with cement blocks tied to her feet in the river. Yeah.
What?
And they still have no idea what happened.
Wow.
But, yeah.
I have one.
What does it say?
Let me just see. An Amber Alert was issued for the 5-year-old girl in 2009, but her body was found just days later on June 4th, buried near the River Raisin. She was encased in concrete. I'm sorry, I had that wrong. So I guess that's not with her feet. They encased her in concrete?
Well, it could be either way.
Either,
I mean,
okay. That's how I took it in my head the first time I heard it. Earlier on, they had 2 persons of interest, both convicted sex offenders who had previous relationships with Jennifer Buchanan, who I'm assuming is her mom. Both of the 2 men were never charged. In an interview in 2012, Jennifer Buchanan said she still hears accusations that she killed her daughter. She said she has nothing to do with this. If she did, she wouldn't be still here talking to you. She added that she had not spoken to the police in almost 2 years. And that is it.
I like it when they say,
creepy.
if I had killed my so-and-so, I wouldn't be doing this.
That's the OJ route.
Yeah, I mean, it's like, how do you fucking know what you would be doing if you had killed them? Mm-hmm. Unless you killed them. Because I don't know how I'm going to act if I ever kill anybody, because I've never fucking killed anybody.
Right.
And actually, I think Ronald Goldman's family, so when OJ won his criminal case, lost the civil case.
Right.
And part of the settlement is he can't make any money off of anything that happened. So OJ wrote a book titled something along the lines of
If I Did It.
Yeah. If I killed them, or it might have been called If I Did It, something along those lines. And since he's not allowed to make anything off of it, the Goldman family actually got the rights to the book and changed the title to something along the lines of I Did It, and then released the book. But it was basically, he didn't kill them, but had he killed them, this is how he would have done it.
I had a coworker when I worked for Marriott. We were working in the golf course in the food part where we worked, and he had made those same comments to me. He was like, "So if I were to murder you," and I was like, well, "I want to go home right now."
Yeah.
He was like, "There's nobody here," and I just started getting creeped out. Yeah, because he was already a creepy dude, like big guy and just dirty. I don't even know how he got to work around food, but. Yeah, when he said that, I was, terrified. I went home, called my boss. They were like, dude, why didn't you call me right then? I'm like, because I'm standing here in front of him. What am I going to say? He's going to kill me. Come now. I probably should have.
Really
but
fucking
This creepy guy is really creeping me out right now. He's standing here.
pick
We're
me up?
by ourselves, and I'm telling you this really loud so you can hear me.
And it was very late at night, too. It was dark, so he always walked me out to my car.
Did you ever look the guy up to see if...
No, I can't. You know what? I should. His name was Kevin. That's all I remember.
Let's not say any last names on the show.
don't say
Yeah,
his
no.
last name.
I have one last one, and this is kind of a close to home one too. It's from Sumter, from a few years ago.
Oh, you knew her, didn't you?
I met her, Egypt Covington.
Oh, yeah.
He met her as she died.
Stop.
Shut up! Don't even play
ever,
that.
no.
Don't even play that game because that's
Yeah.
I know.
it's a sore subject for a lot of people. If the stories
and rightfully so.
right.
I mean,
if the stories to be believed, she was found tied up with Christmas lights to a chair and shot in the head.
Oh, my gosh.
in her house, wasn't it?
In her house, yeah. And I don't believe there are signs of forced entry. So they were looking at the boyfriend very closely. but they never had enough. They didn't have enough to arrest him for it. But most people kind of think he did it.
Yeah.
But there's no way to prove it, and her case is still cold. They actually just started posting new reward signs for it.
Crazy.
One of our local breweries made a beer after her.
Did they?
Oh, really?
To do a fundraiser for her.
Oh.
Tiffany. I don't know if I can say her name, but not last name, but she knew her.
Oh, really? That's crazy. I couldn't imagine what it takes to, like, in your head, to kill someone like that. It's beyond imagination.
Yeah, you have to just be crazy, honestly. It can't be, you can't have connections there that are working for everything. Because you don't have that, oh, you know what, that's a bad idea.
Yeah. Maybe I shouldn't kill this person.
Right.
Yeah. No, they don't have that.
No, like, and I understand, not that I understand, but I can see where someone can go through in, like, an act of rage. You know, finding...
If I find somebody raping my daughter.
Something like that.
Yes.
Absolutely. I can understand that. But, no... hog tying someone or tying them to a chair and killing
that
them.
takes thought and time and time to think about it. Yeah.
I just couldn't imagine what the victim is even going through at that time,
right?
Knowing that you're going to die.
Well, it's probably hell. It's probably torture.
I guess that's what the killer gets off on.
A lot of them do. A lot of them do. So
that window's really creeped me up.
It creeped me out when I turned around to start coughing. I was like, maybe I should go close it.
That's the kind of shit that you got to be a horror fan to be.
I guess.
You know, you see a creepy window and you don't know, you can't really tell if there's someone there. You just wave.
Yeah,
Chrissy's told you that story 100 times, right?
Until you look and someone waves back at you, then you're not a fan of that
You
anymore.
can't see.
If they climb down into the well, you can see.
Oh, really?
Because there's a reflection off the back of the well.
Oh.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, I see it now.
But do you remember that story
anyway.
where I used to do that to Chrissy? We lived in the house in Martz and was going out the back door and ran out there and pretended like somebody grabbed me and started screaming, and she and Sarah come flying to the door, and I was like, ah, and they were like, what the hell is wrong with you? But I thought it was funny.
It was pretty creepy out behind your house too.
Yeah.
It was like
5 acres, man, like nothing out there.
And
that was
part of that's like from the house to the road.
It was all wooded.
It was all
at
kind of
that
wooded,
time.
yeah.
And that was before you didn't have the subdivision on the one side. You
Or behind us.
So there was nothing back there.
Nothing.
Remember the Halloween party you had and I dressed up as Michael Myers? I got everyone so good that night.
Did you?
Yeah.
I don't remember
Because
that.
you drove me there,
Yeah.
and I got out of the car and ran around the back of the house, climbed the fence, got onto the deck, and hid behind the chimney. And I was watching. I mean, I was playing Michael Myers. I was staring in the window, just watching everybody have some fun. And then you tried to get everyone to go outside and smoke. And then, I wish I could have filmed it because it would have looked just like the movie. I'm standing in the shadows where you could almost see me, and no one saw me. It was beautiful. Yeah,
That's great.
But that's a horror fan thing.
Yeah, the good old days.
Yeah.
But anyway, that's all I got, kids.
I think we covered quite a few stories.
Yeah, and it's like the first time we did it was episode 38. I said,
yeah,
that was probably my favorite episode of last year that we did. Because even like going back and listening to it, some of that shit we talked about still creeps me out. But
none of this creeps me out. Like I said, this is the stuff I usually fall asleep watching on YouTube.
Yeah, and for the most part, it's the stuff that like involves kids and stuff like that.
Yeah,
That's
I mean,
really,
it's disturbing. It's bothersome, but it's not creepy.
I don't know. I think it's creepy. You guys are fucked up.
I won't disagree.
I do. I don't think I'm fucked up at all.
Well, anyway,
I tend to be the survivor in any horror movie, at least for the first one. I can't guarantee I'll make it through the sequel, but I'm going to make it through my first movie.
Well, anyway, any questions or comments, you can email us at contact@lifeandjournalpodcast.com. Check us out on Twitter, on Facebook, Podbean, all that stuff. Leave us a 5-star review on iTunes. You want to do it, Ian, or should I do it?
I can't do that.
You can't do that? Can you do that, Mandy? There you go.
She does it better than you.
She does it better than me. Try not to be too loud.
I'm assuming that's how sex works, too.
What, clicks and pops?
Well, no, her doing it better than you.
Those aren't tears on your belly.
I'm sorry. I don't know why I said that.
Oh, Jesus.
Anyway.
Sorry,
Anyway,
my coworkers.
Mandy, thanks for what? Well, you've got 3 children. They assume you've had sex before.
Yeah, I guess 3 times.
Yeah,
Just 3 times?
Well, thanks for coming on the show again.
You're
Mandy.
welcome.
Hopefully we can get you on here more often.
Just have to have good topics.
Yep.
Yeah.
I like playing the games.
Mandy doesn't like when we talk politics and all that
No.
stuff.
No,
I'll
and
never
I
be on
get
here
it.
for that.
Lately I've not been a big fan of the politics ones either.
Yeah, I know.
But they're gonna have to start coming.
We've done a couple of them, not too many of them.
No, we've been trying to go really light on them.
I don't think we have any planned the rest of the year.
No, this next year's going to be a big year for it.
We'll have a lot next year to talk about.
Yeah.
Well, until next time.
Talk to y'all later.
Peace.
Play my role, let me tell you about it. This shit right here, man, I'm about it. Only real niggas reside around me. Yo, old lady, drop a crowd around me. Dip like I know you can, bitch. Show me the ropes like we in the ring. Got you two cobras, you wanna hang. Shoulder to shoulder, them niggas basic. You know I won't lie. You know that I ain't for that fuck shit. You niggas alright, but I'm way better and she love it. Know that y'all sick as fuck. Here go this tissue, bro. We taking the dub. Hoping you get you some. This hit like a pick me up. She taking my drugs. Know they see the sign. That's some dollar signs. Know they sick as fuck. Know they sick as fuck. Tell them get well soon. Tell them get well soon. Know you sick as fuck. Get well soon.